What's up, hardship heroes? You are back on the other side. Today's guest needs no hype, but I'm going to give him a little bit anyway. He's the former two-time UFC heavyweight champion of the world, a man who
Five
has
time.
punched his five-time, excuse me, a man who has punched his way into MMA history, and a guy whose nickname tells you everything you need to know. Welcome to the show, Tim the Maniac Sylvia. How are you doing, sir?
No bad. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate that. I was going to mention that five-time later on. I promise.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you needed
Um,
to be corrected before we even started, so.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I want to know. I've never known anyone from Maine. What's it like growing up as a kid, a young boy in Maine? I know what it's like in Arkansas. What does Maine offer a little kid?
I mean, growing up when I was a kid, I loved it. I
Mhm.
loved the winters. I still love winter, but unfortunately, Iowa doesn't have the snow that Maine has.
Mhm.
If it's gonna be wintertime, it's gonna be cold. I want snow. We're big in the outdoorsmen up there in Maine, and I am still here. I love snowmobiling. I love ATVs and quads
Mhm.
and ice fishing and all the outdoor stuff. Big hunter and stuff like that. I have my own hunting show, obviously. So I'm
Mhm.
obviously a big hunter, but yeah.
Okay.
I had a good time, and then once I got into high school and stuff like that, I'm like, it's time to get the hell out of here.
What was family life like growing up?
My life sucked, man. I had a
Yeah.
really really abusive mom and stuff, and just
Mm.
it wasn't a good childhood at all. So it's my mom was one of 13, so I had a lot of cousins running around and stuff like that. Still a lot of cousins today and stuff. I was the only child myself, but dad worked all the time. He was either a fisherman or a woodsman. And then I was
Mhm.
stuck at home with my alcoholic mom, so it sucked.
Do you think that made you tough
Oh, absolutely.
young?
No
Okay.
doubt about it.
Okay.
I used that a lot even when I was fighting. So
Okay. Do you remember the first time somebody punched you in the face?
I mean my would have been my mom, I'm sure.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm
okay.
sure I do.
Outside of the home, let's talk recess, schoolyard, alleyway.
Yeah, I mean
Who
I
did, who
can't
did
remember.
it?
I think Mike Murphy was the first kid that hit me.
Okay.
I think he was the first kid to hit me, and then a few weeks later I got him back. But yeah, he was the first one that hit me. I remember, and then later on, he hit me. My mouth bloody all up and had to go inside and stuff. But we're friends. We're friends today. I was actually a very like. I was actually telling someone today. I used to hang out at his brother was Joe Murphy and Mike
Hmm.
Murphy. I used to hang out at their house all the time because they had a junkyard.
Hmm.
And we used to just tear that thing up compared, we'd find pieces of crap, Subarus, and put a battery in them and siphon gas out of 5 or 6 different vehicles and get them running and go get them stuck and stuff. And then we'd chain up hoods behind the back of them and run through the junkyard, act like those are our sleds. It was crazy. I mean, it was awesome. And then now the other direction of my house was Adam Palmer,
Hmm.
and he had a junkyard too. But his dad was a major asshole, and we used to get in trouble there a lot because we used to, run around with toy guns
Hmm.
and play war and stuff. And
Sure.
we'd be on the hood of the vehicle on the all these junk cars, and we'd get shot. We'd fall back on the hood or the windshields, bust them out and stuff. It was pretty cool. But yeah, Dad didn't
Sounds
think about it
awesome.
once he lost money on all the dented hoods that he couldn't resell and windshields and all that shit. Yeah, I think Mike
I
Murphy's the first guy that ever hit me.
okay.
Pretty sure he was. Yeah.
That's wild. I know you were quite the student athlete in school. I want to know what kind of just student you were. Were you a class clown? What, what kind of kid were you?
I mean, I don't know if I'd say I was a student athlete. I mean, I don't know. I was shy to myself, bullied a lot actually growing up all through school. Um, yeah, I don't like that. I mean, just I wasn't good in school either. C, D, and C kind of guy, just to get by.
Okay. All right. Um, Now I have to ask. You did a few things getting out of school. I read construction work, community gardening, which was quite interesting. I want to know what it's like being
What
a bouncer.
what's community gardening? Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's on Wikipedia. It says you did community gardening.
Yeah, Wikipedia is full of shit because I don't even know what that is.
Okay. Uh,
I'm
um,
now all I can think of is when I was in seventh and eighth grade. My good buddy Rodney Butler's dad had like a landscaping company, and I worked for him in the summer times and on breaks and stuff like that. If I wasn't raking blueberries and stuff, so maybe they're
Maybe
affiliating
that's
that
it.
with that. Maybe I
Okay.
don't know.
I want to know what it's like being a bouncer with Marcus Davis.
Yeah, Marcus and I had some good times, dude. Good
He
times.
shared a few with me.
Yeah. Okay, then. So yeah. It was funny. Marcus was the baddest, one of the baddest guys around in Bangor, Maine.
Hmm.
I actually started training with him so I could get better at MMA and stuff because he was going down to like Boston or Connecticut or somewhere and doing jiu-jitsu and come back here and teaching all of us what he was
Hmm.
learning. But he was a pro boxer. And it was funny. Guys would look at him and be like, yeah, I'm going to go after him. He's a lot smaller. Yeah, wrong. Wrong. He would hit them with a 3 or 4 piece before they even got, to his legs or
Right.
whatever. It was funny. It was really funny. They would just see me and then see him and like, yeah, I'm going after a little guy. Wrong choice.
Wrong choice. All right.
Definitely.
How did the idea "I want to be a fighter" come into your head?
Marcus had a lot to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, we were trained together, and I was getting to a point where I was getting better than everybody in Bangor, Maine. Sean
Hmm.
Dabby was doing a lot of training with me and stuff. Marcus is best friend. Those two were two partners in crime. They got in so much trouble together. They were fighting all the time. We were all just fighting all the time, just doing dumb stuff um and then we were trained together, and I was surprised he didn't want to do it, but he wouldn't do it. But all of us that were trained together, I was the only one willing to go down the Rhode Island Valley Tudo and do it with Kip Gola and Joe Cuff and those guys. They had opportunity $50 to do a NHB fight, open hand strikes, 1 7 minute round. And I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $50 to go do it. And the guys went down with me and went down there and knocked the guy out in 14 seconds. And after I did it, I got so scared because I'm looking around like, well, where are the cops? The cops weren't coming. No, we no longer had to look around your shoulder, wait for the cops show because you just got in a fight. But now the kid's knocked out, and then they have to tear down the ring and bring in an ambulance and stretcher him out. I'm like, oh gosh, I just killed someone. I don't know what's gonna happen. It was bad. It was yeah. The guy was laid up for like 3 months. He had a severe
Oh my
concussion, and
gosh.
yeah, I know. my
I
first my first MMA fight.
I read somewhere that the idea that you wanted to become a UFC fighter was kind of inspired by a trip to go see the UFC. Is that right?
No, I
No.
think
Okay.
I started doing the MMA, the amateur stuff, and then me, Sean, our good buddy Chad, and Tim flew down to New Jersey when they first had the UFC in New Jersey,
Hmm.
and we went down there and just to be his fans, but they mistook me as Gan McGee because he was on the card that night, and we were just kind of walking around, and some of the security they're like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing out here?" Like, oh, just kind of walk around. So you want to come into this door? Like, yeah. So we went in through a side door, and Randleman's in the ring warming up. Militich is there. Tito. Everyone's all just the whole. And I know because when I got in the UFC, all the fighters would be in the arena in
Hmm.
the cage warming up, shooting the shit, just whatever. So they thought I was Gan McGee because I think he fought Barnett that night, or I don't
Hmm.
even know who he fought. I can't remember. But yeah, and so I knew that I wanted to try to go train someplace else because it wasn't working for me in Maine. So the three places we had in mind were the Lions Den, uh whatever Tito called his team, Huntington Beach, whatever, and Military Camp. Those were like the three big ones at that time. And talked to Shamrock, and he was just Shamrock, and Tito was Tito, both very nice to fans and stuff, but just wasn't just so welcoming like Milicic was. Walked up to Milicic, and he's got a big chew in his mouth, spitting on the floor, and we're like, "Hey, Mr. Milicic." And he looks up at me, and he's like, "Jesus Christ, you're big enough to eat hay and shit in the middle of the road. Do you fight?" I never forget that to the day I die. I mean, that was 26, 7 years ago. And we're like, yeah, yeah, a little bit. And he's like, "Geez, you need to come to Iowa." I'm like, if that's an invite, we're coming. He's like, "Yeah, come on out. We got guys your size. You can train with us." And he gave me his phone number right there on the spot.
Wow.
So, which is really, and it was, weird. I was like,
Hmm.
just said it to a fan, because we were just fans at the time. I mean, he knew I fought a little bit, but didn't know who I was. And I wasn't anybody. I had maybe 3 or 4 fights under my belt.
Hmm. I can't imagine. those early days at MFS, how did you adjust to being around that many, I guess, high caliber athletes? And what's that atmosphere like? I've heard stories. You're maybe the seventh or eighth guy from Militich that I've had on the show. I've heard some stories. What was that like getting used to?
I mean, I probably got beat up the first 3 years. I got beat up like every day. I mean, I held my own in sparring because that was my background. I was a striker, and I did some boxing, karate, and stuff. So I held my own. I was so tall, and I had power. I held
Hmm.
my own there. But jujitsu and wrestling nights, I was so bad at wrestling. Pat made me go over to Augustana College and train with them on jiu-jitsu and wrestling nights. Steve Rusk was a three-time All-American from Illinois, wrestled Illinois, and it was assistant coach over there at Augustana College. And as you all, if you don't know the name, you should know the name. Steve Rusk was my number one training partner, my best friend still to
Hmm.
today, one of my number one cornermen, just the baddest wrestler on the planet. One, I just mean, and so strong. Farm boy strength was unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, I got beat up a lot, and it was. I liked it when we had new guys come in because I actually get to beat them up instead of me getting beat up all the time.
Okay.
But it was crazy. My first time I walked in the Miltich gym, I had to duck you get in the racquetball court. Pat was there, and by myself, didn't know anybody, and we got talking, and he's like, "Hey, somebody." He's like, "Do you know Jeremy Horn?" I go, "Oh yeah, yeah." He said, "Why don't you roll with him and see how it goes?" I'm like, "Oh shit." So Jerry's, I'll go ahead and just get my guide, and I got this guide, and I submitted him with in the first 30 seconds in, I submitted him with a nasty little wrist lock, which was just a cheesy little thing that I've gotten dozens of people on, and I got caught with it when I first started.
Hmm.
And he said, "Oh, good job, good job. I didn't see that coming." Oh, dude, dumb. The next 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I lost count of how many times I tapped. He's like, "Okay, big guy got some skills. Let's see." Then
Yep.
yeah, no, not at
Jeremy
all.
can do that with just about anybody.
Man, he was the wizard. He was the
Yeah.
man.
Absolutely. Um, I hope I get these stats right. You started your pro career 13-0 with 10 knockouts, fighting for Extreme Challenge, Super Brawl, and IFC before getting the call to the UFC. Is that correct?
I'm not really like I came to military camp, and I think I was my amateur was 2-2, and I think my pro was 1-0, 1-0 or 2-0, and then
Wow.
yeah, I was only there for a week or two, and I had my next fight was in California, Cibola Casino for Gladiators Challenge for their super fight championship, and Pat knew I was fighting a wrestler and just put me through the paces and had me train for that. And then I won the title and came back. Chuck Liddell ended up cornering me for that match, and came back with that title. But I got picked up and body slammed and got bruised some ribs. That
Mm,
sucked. But no, I would say I started my pro career really with them. Probably 1 or 2-0. Monty was the guy to manage you and stuff. I had a manager out of California, like Sean Enton, I think his name was, and he got me that fight. But that's all he really had. He didn't have the pull that Monty had, and when I got to Militich, I was, trying to get Monty to manage me and stuff. He's like, "Man," he goes, "I just got so many guys I can't manage you." He goes, "I'll help you get fights and stuff." And he goes, "But just don't turn fights down, and we'll see what we can do." And he was just giving me fights. He's like, "Hey, I got this. You want to fight this guy?" Yep. I fought anytime he said I just fought. And then the turning point for me, Tony Fricklin and I were really good friends because we were both from the
mhm.
East Coast, and he stayed with us in the fighter house and stuff. So him and I were like two peas in a pod. They called us Shrek and Donkey because Tony was a talker. He would never shut the fuck up. Can we cuss on this?
Absolutely,
Okay,
man.
because I just said the F word. Um,
Absolutely, you can.
yeah, so he would never shut the fuck up. So it was literally they're like, "Oh, look, it's Shrek and Donkey." And then we had a girl at a gym named Carrie, and she was a massage therapist under Pat's wife's chiropractic business. and they called her Fiona, Princess Fiona. It was fucking hilarious. She hated it, and she was
Yeah,
good
I
looking.
bet.
She was a good looking gal too. It was just, but she, I don't know why, because her and I were just really good friends. I was like one of those guys who was like good friends with like a lot of girls and stuff. Even growing up, I don't know why. I had like a lot of girls who they trusted me or whatever. I was just friends with a lot of girls.
You're just a sweetheart, Tim.
That had been what it was. And I got bullied a lot and stuff, so it was easy for me to be friends with girls. But yeah, so we had him and I was both had fights in New Orleans on September, like right after September 11th. So Monty was able to fly down there, and then September 11th happens, and they X all flights, everything. No one's flying out. So he gets a hold of us and says, "You guys need to go over to my house and get my car and drive down to New Orleans, you and Tony, and you got to pick up another guy on the way down that's fighting Rich Clemente." We're like,
Hmm.
okay, whatever. So, we did it. We drove down, drove his guy down there. We ended up getting down there. My guy backs out, decides he doesn't want to fight me. I'm like, well, this is great. Tony fights and submits the guy very quickly with a guillotine. And we all went out drinking that night. It's probably the last time I really ever got drunk too. It was all like I was never been a big drinker. I don't drink now, but we all went out that night and we cornered Monty into managing us. He agreed to it, but it was kind of a package deal. He's like he
Hmm.
wanted Tony, but didn't really care if he had me because he didn't know where I was going to turn up. How I was going to turn out. But I was like 5-0, maybe 6-0, and he agreed to manage both of us. And obviously, I was the surprise card. Who would have thought I would have became what I was. What I became it anyway.
Sure. Um, I could interview you for hours about all your UFC fights, but I think I've narrowed it down to maybe three I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
The first one, obviously, is the fight with Rico, UFC 41. Walk me through camp for Rico and the fight itself, and obviously, what changed for you afterwards. How does life become different?
We were. What happened? I had my UFC debut against Cabbage, looked really good.
Hmm.
Um, and then we're all at the airport. Like there must have been fights after that. So I fought Cabbage 39. So UFC 40, we were all at UFC 40 together,
Hmm.
and we're all at the airport checking in Vegas. I don't even know where we were. Might have been Vegas or Miami. I don't even know, dude. Um, do you know what UFC 40 was? Was it Miami?
It might have been, but I'm not positive.
I don't either. We had a couple guys fighting. Usually, whenever guys fought, um, guys would stack on each corners, and some would pay their own way to get there and stuff like that. But we're all at the airport. Me, Monty, Jens, Pat, Jeremy, I think Matt, Robbie, and Monty's on the phone with Joe Silver. And he gets off, and he's like, "You are never, guys. No one's gonna believe this." And we kind of all come together on Monty. He's like, "They just offered you Rico Rodriguez." We're like, holy shit, we all ready? And he's like, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know. What do you guys think? And Jeremy's like, you're taking that fight. You're going to kick his ass. Pat's like, you're going to knock him out. And he goes, I'm going to do whatever it takes. You're going to win that fight. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think any of it. I just, it was a win-win for me. I just fight the champ and lose. I just lost the champ. Win is like, well, we're the world champion now.
Hmm.
So yeah, fight camp was really grueling. Um, what did I weigh? As you know, I was always walking around 300 pounds cutting weight and stuff, and I went into that fight at 254. Didn't have to cut anyway. Just the weight, I mean, I overtrained, no doubt about it. Overtrained for that fight with 254, and just felt amazing. And obviously had a great showing, and look how it
Hmm.
turned out really well for us.
Absolutely. UFC 59, the rematch against Andre for the
Oh yeah.
belt. You became the second time heavyweight champion, second reign. Uh, what did you use from the first fight going into this one that helped? And where does that win rank amongst your favorites?
Ironically enough, it was weird because it kind of felt like the same situation. So my first that fight with Rico, we were kind of looked down upon. I don't think I even got so usually whenever you fight for a world title, you get a hotel suite, you get your own locker room. Um, and a few other perks, and which I wasn't aware of. The guys were like, "This is weird. You don't get your own locker room. You didn't have a hotel suite." They gave my hotel suite to Trinidad because he was with Rico, and so I was kind of like snubbed, like, "Oh, this guy's just an opponent. He ain't gonna win. Well, I go out there and win. Okay, awesome." Well, then obviously I had the McGee fight that went well for me, but I vacated the title afterwards. And then I had a few other fights in between to try to get back on track, mirror the broken arm bullshit and stuff. But that second fight with Andre, everything was kind of lined up in the cards as my first match with Rico. It's like I wasn't supposed to win. He was gonna walk through me. I didn't have my own locker room again. I don't really know why. Just all kinds of things kind of stars aligned, and I came in that fight at 257.
Hmm.
So I was shredded. That was probably some of the best shape I've been in that fight. Overtrained, obviously, but we were ready. It's like we were definitely ready for that fight, and we saw what happened. I remember I got dropped just like I did in the first fight. But when he hit me and I fell, I'm like, oh no, this is not happening again. I'm getting the hell up.
Hmm.
I just knew I had to get the hell up and just try to land one of my big punches. And I actually just watched that fight the other day. It popped up on memories or something.
Reclaiming the belt like that, does it feel different than the
It,
first time?
it meant more than anything. It meant more than the first time, because the first time I felt like I shouldn't say I didn't earn it. I was in the
Sure.
UFC. I was 16-0.
Hmm.
But Rico picked me. He had a choice between Pedro Hizzle, Gan McGee, or me, and he asked to fight me. So I felt like I didn't go through the rankings. I didn't really earn the title shot, and all of a sudden I didn't enjoy my reign in the UFC. I fought once in the UFC, then I fought for the world title. Now I'm the heavyweight champion. So this time it meant a lot more because I went through a couple of losses. I had that major arm injury. I had to work my way up through the rankings. Fighting who did I fought? I can't remember if I fought Trelleman before that, and then I fought Australia Silver. I don't even remember, but it felt the most. It was the most rewarding because I had already been there once. I already tasted, victory one time as a champion, so it meant
Hmm.
the most to me. It felt that was my most memorable, most rewarding fight. I believe was the number two Arlovsky fight.
Was that when and I got to say I absolutely love that you did it, but is that when was it after the second time that you started wearing the belt everywhere?
Um, I I don't remember. I think I did it more the first time. I did it
Did
more the
you?
first
Okay.
time. And
I
it's crazy
love
because
seeing
everybody.
videos of you at the grocery store with that around your waist. That's awesome.
Yeah, but see, that's not that. I never wore it at a grocery store. Never.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and it's a lot of this is like made up and stuff like that too.
Okay.
Um, I thought when my first UFC match went down there when I met Pat and all those guys,
Hmm.
Tito Ortiz is running around wearing the belt everywhere. That guy wore the belt everywhere,
Hmm.
and I'm like, that's badass. If I ever win the title, I'm gonna do that. So Tito's the one that
Okay.
kind of gave me the idea of it. And obviously, that night when I won, I beat Rico. I wore it to the bar, and me and Chuck, we're all very intoxicated. We're
Hmm.
in Atlantic City. We are bartending. Me, Chuck Liddell, some of my guys behind the bar bartending at the belt on. We're just having a hell of a good time. We had girls naked up on the bar and stuff. It was wild. Um, took a girl home and
Allegedly.
took a girl home, wore the belt during whatever. But I didn't never wore the belt out in like public events, only to
Okay.
fights. But
Okay.
when there was local fights in our town or other local fights, I would wear the belt. Never wore in the grocery store or any of that stuff. And now the UFC set me up on a bullshit deal too. Once that they came and filmed me, they always film you
Hmm.
the title fights or whatever the main events. They'd come and film you for a few days
Yeah.
and video all that shit before the fight to lead up to it. So me and my bunch of my boys were going to the beach, and we had jet skis and boats. So my boy put a couple of UFC people on the boat, and they asked me to bring the belt. I'm like, yeah, bro, whatever, just leave it in the boat. Well, we did that. I was on the jet skis. We were jumping waves. The UFC was filming all that stuff and stuff. We get to the beach that we're hanging out at. It was a secluded beach. You only get to the boat or jet skis. and no vehicles can get there. And they asked me to grab the belt when I do my interview. So I'm doing that. And then fans saw me. So I started taking pictures of me while I had the belt at a beach. So that was a UFC setup. I would never
Okay.
bring the damn belt to a beach ever. That was like they were following me around. That's what they wanted. I don't think I
Gotcha.
ever had it. I don't think I ever had it in a grocery store. I don't know
Okay.
what the whole Wikipedia thing of me being a flower or a gardener. I don't know. So hard telling. But no, I never straight up wore the belt to anything other than fights. Like it
Okay.
was even like you, other than you, I wear them to local fights, extreme challenges. I have all that stuff. But because hey, you got guys that were cornering and they got the UFC champion in their corner and stuff. Yeah, so I definitely
Okay.
wore them to those and stuff like that, but never like to the grocery store or out and
Gardening.
about town and stuff like that. No.
Okay. All right. The last fight I want to talk about is your
Mhm.
fight against a returning 40-something-year-old Randy Couture.
Yeah,
I remember watching it on pay-per-view when it happened. And honestly, nobody that I knew, nobody in the room I was in was giving Randy a chance. I don't think most fans were.
me either.
And and a lot of that is because you were the monster in the cage that you were at the time. How did you view Randy as an opponent going in?
Randy was a very good friend of mine. He actually flew me out to Oregon before I fought Cabbage to help him get ready for Rico.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, because why he did that was because Matt Lindland came to Iowa to train with us, and I was so mad at Matt Lindland because he beat up Pat and beat Pat in that UFC fight. I Pat Matt and I sparred, and I beat the shit out of him, like beat the ever living shit out of him. And he ends up we were at the gym one day. He was in the office. And he calls Randy. He's like, dude, there's a heavyweight out here that you really need to train with. And Pat and Matt were in the office and they hollered to me and I come in. He's like, hey, someone's talked to you. And I'm like, who is it? He just talked to him. And he's like, hey, I heard you're a pretty good tough guy. I'm like, who's this? He's like, Randy Couture. I go, shut the fuck. Who is this? And they go, no, that's Randy. I'm like, oh, hi. I'm like, hi, Mr. I'm like a huge fan of Randy Couture.
Hmm.
And starstruck then. I'm like, holy shit, Randy Couture's talking to me. And he's like, I'd like to. He's, if I flew you out here and put you up, would you come train with me for a couple weeks? I looked at Pat. I go, hey, he wants me to come out there. He's like, yeah, go. I'm like, yeah, I'll go, I'll come. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna get your flights. I'll use my miles, and we'll get you out here. I'm like, cool. And went out there, and she's like, put you up in a hotel. You can stay with me. I'm like, I'll stay with you if you're okay with that. He's like, there any special foods you eat or anything like that? I'm like, I'll eat what you eat. I said, you look pretty good to me. I mean, no
Hmm.
special nothing. I said, on a Saturday, I might need to go get some peanut butter cups on my cheat meal, but I'm good. And yeah, it just became a good friendship. And went to those fights, and he lost to Rico, and I went and saw him in his room and stuff. And then he was supposed to fight Andre Arlovsky. So he flew me out there again and trained with and stuff. And this time I had my way with Randy. I could do there was nothing I couldn't do wrong. Or I beat him up in sparring and wrestling. I mean, wrestling was a tough part, but jiu-jitsu I'd submit him and stuff like that and stuff. So we just became good friends. And then Arlovsky ended up breaking his hand, and they asked when I was there, Randy got the call and wanted to know if he would drop the 205 and fight Chuck Liddell. I'm like, well, what do you want? He's like, well, Chuck's a striker, so you stay here and we'll be sparring. I was like, sounds good. And yeah, so that happened. So and then he helped me on the Rico fight. We were the week before the fight. When we get to the UFC, he was training with me and stuff like that, and told me things to watch out for on the ground and stuff. And so very very good friend of mine. So when I found out I was going to fight Randy, I'm like, oh man, I'm like. I couldn't really get up for the fight. Like I couldn't get any animosity at all because it's Randy.
Right.
And then so I'm like, we were in the office and I called him. He's like, what's up? I go, what are you doing? I go, what the hell are you doing? He's, I'm going to kick your big ass. I said, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. He's like, we'll see. And I'm like, all right, man, love you. So yeah, the lead up to the fight, I'll never forget him where we're in the cage and he's bouncing. I'm looking at him and stuff. I'm like, Randy, I'm just going to beat his ass. Nope. He came up with a great game plan, and I went into that fight with a small injury and made it. Well, it was kind of a serious injury, made it a lot worse. But
Hmm.
yeah, I just couldn't get up for the fight. I couldn't get that killer instinct when it came to Randy, and I felt like it showed. So
during that fight, what was a bigger surprise to you, that he dropped you or he was able to control you the way he did?
Um, I have no. I mean, Randy was fine. I don't even know, dude. And I don't really. I guess he did control me, but it was all with wrestling.
Right.
He was doing very good switching it up. Like
Hmm.
when I thought he was going to wrestle, he struck. When I thought he was going to strike, he wrestled. You know, he did it. Just had a great game plan and executed it perfectly.
Gotcha.
Um, just did a great job with his game plan, and we didn't really have a game plan. It's just like it's Randy. I was like, what's he gonna fucking do to me? You know,
Right.
give me the lead, give me the cage, and hold on to me, and outpoint me. Yeah. So yeah, and it's funny because when he hit me with that first overhand right, I had trained with Randy so much that Randy did that sneaky little move where he would come out and fake that lead leg kick like he did to me, but then go into a shot.
Hmm.
So if you watch that fight, that's exactly what he did. And I dropped both hands to go for underhooks, and he came with the overhand right and just clobbered me. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, you son of a bitch. It was funny. He had my back during that first round, and he's trying to hit me and stuff. And I'm looking at the Teletron, looking at him. I can see which side he was on. I'm like, you having fun yet? He's like, yeah, you. I said, ah, you let me get up. Well, I'll have more fun. He's like, get up. I was like, yeah, I can't. So yeah, we were talking to each other during the fight. It was funny.
Your career, Tim, you've seen some of the highest highs, some of the lowest lows. As you know, the point of these interviews is to hopefully inspire people who are going through struggles. If you had to pick out maybe a point in your career where you were at your lowest, or maybe just felt broken, rock bottom, what was that moment, and how did you make it out on the other side of it?
Um, the lowest point in my career was probably when I ended up vacating the belt, and then I come back to fight for it, and that was my broken arm. Yeah, so I vacated the belt.
I lost you, Tim.
Hey, you still
There you
there?
are. Here I am. Yeah, I thought I lost you.
Shit. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you, and I have no idea what's happened.
Uh-oh. I tell you what.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
I can't fucking hear you. I have no idea what's going on.
I'll um I'll send the link again. I'll resend the link.
I can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, one second, one second.